Naija is the pride in our hearts. The spirit of Naija is the song that we sing. The spirit of Naija, the energy in our steps. The spirit of Naija, our strides, can leave the invisible thread around our hearts as a beat. The spirit of Naija is in our drum beat.
Hello and welcome to my world. This is my story, and my name is Abiola Ifeoluwa. You're welcome. So today I am going to be telling you about my story and my battle, as it were, with scleroderma. Scleroderma is a disease. It's an autoimmune condition, and I noticed I was feeling all sorts of way, starting from, I think, as far back as 2012. I would have several bouts of fatigue. It was extremely debilitating. But because I was so hardworking, I would not notice until I now wanted to rest. Maybe by the weekend, then I'll feel extremely tired. And I used to feel very dehydrated as well. So I was always drinking water, running to the restroom at whatever breaks that I had. So it was a very debilitating condition. So I began to think that, am I going to die? Am I going to die? And so I was always very reflective and scared for my children. I was not scared of dying, by the way, because I knew that if I died, I was going to heaven anyway. But my children were still quite young, and so it was very concerning for me. So I started taking all sorts of supplements to increase my strength, my energy, when I go for shoots. And then, I used to have very long hours of shoot, Sometimes I'll need to shoot 22 scenes in a day. It was really exhausting. But I enjoyed my work. I enjoy working. Then I decided that, I needed to do a test. What initiated the test was that I began to see changes in my skin. And, it seemed like I had a burn on my hands, my face. It didn't even start with my face, it started with my hands. My hands were aging, and then they were changing color. And then it started coming to my chest. It looked like I had a burn when I didn't have one, And my body, I could not understand what was happening. So, what I said, enough was enough. I was going for a test. And so I decided to go in for a test in 2015. This was like February, March of 2015. So I went to Louth, to the dermatology department at Harvey Road in Yaba. So when I got there and I saw a dermatologist, she and two others, and they said, you have scleroderma. I said, what was that? She said, well, it is a hardening of the tissues of the body, and it hardens your organs. It's an oversecretion of collagen. Now, collagen is good news to women because it makes you look younger, right? However, in my case, there was an excessive secretion of collagen. And that meant that all my joints and my tissues were joining together. And what happens in that kind of situation is that your tissues, your organs, they harden, they become hard, and then the person dies. So when they told me this, of course, she was not entirely descriptive of that condition. She just told me, basically, you oversecrete collagen and all that. So as I was going back home, I began to read up on it. Now, bearing in mind that I said I was always fatigued. I was extremely exhausted. I'll wake up exhausted. If I walked a few steps, I'll be short of breath, consistently like that, So anyway, on my way back home, I started Googling. They say that Google is your friend, not all the time. You find out some things that you do not want to know. So I started reading, but you see, information also helps, because by the time I started reading it, I could identify with the symptoms and say, yeah, I feel this, yes, I feel that, So I began expansive research on scleroderma and what may have caused it and how to treat it. By the way, scleroderma does not have a cure. It cannot be cured by science. It can, however, be managed. And the management of scleroderma is such that it could give you another disease. In treating it with certain drugs, right, especially some drugs that steroids, it could affect your kidney, it could affect your liver, So it got to a point where my pastor, God rest his soul, Pastor Taiwo Dukoya, called me because a friend of mine, very close friend of mine, called him and said, Biola is very sick, but she's not talking, she's not telling anybody. She knew because she was, very close to me. She is very close to me. And so she told Pastor, and Pastor called me. I said, Kilon Shele, why didn't you tell me? What is happening? Oh yeah. By this time, I started seeing a rheumatologist. A rheumatologist is somebody who treats issues like scleroderma, autoimmune disorders, right? So I was now seeing one, and he was able to identify certain things that I needed to do. So he suggested rituximab treatment. Rituximab is like a low-dose chemotherapy. And what happens with that, it's an infusion that you take to fight against the bad cells that are being produced in your body. And it was extremely expensive. It was millions. And so he said that was my option. But the side effect of rituximab is that it can actually kill. So it's like from fry pan to fire, which one are you going to do? So when I told my pastor this, he said, you know what, you have to do it. The Lord would go with you, you would do it, you'll be fine and everything. So we started researching where was the best place to do it. And so we decided that I should go to India. So I went to India, and so I was going to do alternative medicine, and they will use herbs and all of that, because it had to come from within. They have to treat me from inside out, not outside in. So it was more like management for the purpose of cure, if it can be cured. Anyway, so I went to India with a very good friend of mine, and I was there for almost 2 months. Whilst they were doing the alternative surgery, medication, I was taking a lot of herbs, a lot of terrible tasting herbs, very bitter, and there were so many foods that I couldn't eat. I had to abstain from so many things. I mean, on a normal day, I was a slim person. But with this, doing that, I couldn't eat rice. For like a year, no rice at all. No, for like 8 months, no meat, no fish, none of those things. I was as skinny as a rake. I was thin. So one day whilst in India, I couldn't climb the steps. I was so fatigued. I called the attention of the doctor. I said, this one, I don't know, it's going to another level, the way I'm feeling. So the doctor said, you know what, let's go to main hospital, because I was at an alternative medical place. So they took me to one of their big, and hey, India, they took me to one of their big hospitals. And walking to the doctor, because they were very detailed, different doctors for different things. And I had so many tests done. Walking was a big problem for me. I would walk a bit and I would almost drop, So I realized the disease had affected my lungs. So it was difficult for me to breathe. It was difficult for me to walk. I hardly had any energy. So I remember there was one day, we're going to see another doctor. And whilst walking, I just couldn't move anymore. I just stopped. I just sat on the floor there. And my friend looked back and realized, where is Bella? Had to walk all the way back to come and find me. I said I couldn't walk anymore. So they had to help me, to get to the doctor. So anywho, I started my processes, and that's where I took my rituximab, and I took it twice. Like after 2 weeks, I'll take another series of rituximab infusion. And after that, I had to spend some time again. All of it, I almost spent 2 months in India for that series of treatment. Thanks to my pastor, Pastor Taiwo, who is now going to be with the Lord, who helped to ensure that I got that treatment. I'm going to come back in the second series and tell you what happened and how I am still alive. And I will continue to be alive. So hold on, and we'll come back to the second series.